hello to you before we get into it. Good morning, Council Wench, and welcome to the big set.
Yes, my name is Wenje Deosidedit, and I want to state, as we have always stated, as members of the National Revolution for the Restoration of Uganda, that we continue to urge the CIC and the CDF to immediately arrest General MK for taking part in partisan politics, yet he's still a serving soldier. And as Uganda marks the Uganda Matters Day, it is also important to note that it is time that Parliament amended the Public Holidays Act to include the Kabaka Mwanga Day, because Kabaka Mwanga and the Omukama Kabarega did what no other person had done. These are people who had never seen the white person, but they resisted colonialism up to their death. So we owe them a lot as the people of Uganda. And also, let's not forget that in that same year, that is 137 years ago, Arsenal was founded. And as a proud Arsenal fan, I'm alive that we have a very rich history as a company, and I want to put a lot of hope in the Arsenal fans.
As a castigator of colonialism, don't you think that's a shot in the foot? Because
no.
Do you support Mbara City or any other
Yes, I do.
Ugandan club?
As a Pan-Africanist, I support Mbara FC, but also as a universalist.
Who is the captain of Mbara FC?
I support Arsenal. So I believe that it is important to know what happens in the local football, in the national football, and in the regional football, as well as in the international sports.
All right.
And of course, I want to say a very big thank you to the total of people, to the total of patriotic and gallant Ugandans who petitioned the Constitutional Court for the nullification of the Anti-Homosexuality Act, because that law is the epitome of stigma and discrimination against people living with HIV and AIDS.
Oh, okay.
And as well as homosexuals.
Welcome, Council Bwenje. And John Turinawe, good morning and welcome to the big set.
Good morning, Wesley Banaji, my fellow panelists and our esteemed listeners. I'm happy to be back again after some time. For me, I think yesterday I watched the news and there was a story about national water disconnecting Naguru Hospital because of arrears amounting to over $1 billion. And I saw the Nakawa West MP, Honorable Joel Senyonyi, Oliver Namazi, the councillor there, the Lord Councillor, and others crying that this mess should be sorted because people are going to die, because the hospital is in dire need of water. It has a lot of patients. Actually, it is overwhelmed by patients. And I asked myself, these public hospitals that do not work, that do not have drugs, and I have been the same man, the same Joel saying the same, how would that be my concern if there is no water? After all, the hospital was non-functioning, because that is what I have said before. So it was a signal that public hospitals or public health facilities work. They may not work at a rate we require them to. They may not be as efficient as possible. They may not have enough medical supplies, but at least they are doing something. And for me, the story yesterday was aligning to that. And in Rwenzori sub-region, we are doing fairly well. We are hit by a lot of sunshine. Some people who planted their maize in March because they had harvested in Feb, they are most unlikely not going to harvest because most of the maize is hit by this dry season. We only managed most parts of Kamwenge, most parts of Uganda, most parts of Toro sub-region and Kasese. A few people managed to harvest some beans, and it was actually a bumper harvest for beans. We are concerned that again the price for maize flour or posho is likely to shoot between the months of July, August and September, and it's my worry. We are concerned, but again it goes back to whether we should keep relying on rain-fed agriculture when we have abundant sources of water in this country.
Welcome, John Turinawe. Yes, good morning, Aaron Message, and welcome to the Big Set.
Thank you, Mr. Westgate. It's my maiden appearance here. This week, it came to an end of the month of May, whereby in the month of May, it has been the month we recorded the most gun violence in the last 15 years. So I think there is a rising issue. On the other hand, we saw President Museveni saying that the weaknesses in the NRM has led to the rise and growth of MK movement. Additionally, he went on to say that some members in the MK movement are on selfish interests. Yet, he made some of the top members. So are they serving the personal interests that serves his interests as well? Additionally, whereas I condole with the Ugandans as well as relatives and brothers and sisters of the soldiers that died in Somalia, it is ironical that the president made a speech that makes us condole further. Because once the president says that there is corruption in the army that led to the selection criteria, sending cooks, bodyguards, and personal assistants to Somalia,
Well,
then how are the soldiers going to fight? Then, in the end, I'm a sports fan. It was my first moment seeing Mourinho losing finals on Europa League, and today, let me wait to see the finals of Manchester and Man City on FA. Thank you.
welcome, Aaron Message, who is a debutant here on the Big Set. And there's so many of you that are glued on your radio listening to the Big Set. We want to say thank you very much. I welcome you. All the people in Mbarara, in Tsoro, in Kabare, every other place that is locked in, we will appreciate you very much. Now, to set into our topic of discussion, President Museveni defended the Anti-Homosexuality Act, saying Uganda will stand firm on its values. While addressing the NRM Parliamentary Caucus at the National Leadership Institute in Chankwanzi, President Museveni said the country will not succumb to intimidation and threats. After he assented to the bill this particular week, he rallied the country around the law, and shortly, the World Bank came in as the latest West-leaning enterprise to signal it may withhold funding because of the law. We saw the statement from Antony Blinken, who is the Secretary of State for the United States. We know the position of the EU and all other international bodies have come in condemnation of the act. And Ugandans, we saw just this week, the young people took to the streets in celebration of the law. And there's so many Ugandans that believe in this law. This will be a topic of discussion in the first hour, but later on we shall be able to tackle what happened in Somalia. Is it high time that our boys came back home? On Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM, great music, great friends. The Big Seat, my name is Wesley Gevanyanji. Good morning.
It's tough, it's bold, it's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music, great friends.
We are back, and thank you so much for not moving an inch. It's 22 minutes past 9 o'clock on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music, great friends. A very special edition of the Big Set. My name is Wesley Banyaji. We're talking about the Anti-Homosexuality Act. It's already a law and very punitive. We know the provisions in there, with huge responsibility on landlords, promoters, the media, the practitioners of homosexuality, and whichever person that in a way is a party to this crime now. The sentences are in there, the penalties. And with me to discuss this is Counsel Bwenje Deus Did It, who is a lawyer, John Turinawe, a big setter, and we have a guest, Aaron Messenger, a political analyst. Let me start with John. We know for sure that budget support that comes from the West does a huge role in our budget, especially in the health sector. PEPFAR and so many other locations that are fully funded by the Americans. And they're saying, with the enactment of this law, we are definitely threatened and we shall withdraw this funding. The president seemed to encourage and give hope to Ugandans that even when this goes ahead to happen, he has plan B. They will readjust the budget and find resources to meet some of these loopholes. Where we sit, we are worried. This money may not be available. And who is going to be affected at the end of the day? It may be the ordinary Ugandans. Don't you think that the executive and especially the president didn't look at the bigger picture rather than a few isolated cases of adults having sex privately, and it's consensual? It literally is not affecting any other person outside them. How far shall we handle this with the consequences that will come of this law? John.
Thank you so much. You see, there is a background to this, and first of all, I think this law was not passed in haste, neither was it dealt with without prior consultation. It was first introduced in 2009 and then passed into law in 2013, then quashed by courts. And I think the grounds then were about basically technicalities, quorum and blah blah. So I think there was a thorough management of the processes, and the narrative of West withdrawing support is as usual a Western propaganda media tool, and I think government now is showing that no, we can, if we are a sovereign state, we can do what we feel is good for our people, and with little or no interference. So let's look at the support. The support is very good for our people. It helps in PEPFAR, it helps in fight against HIV and malaria and blah blah. US aid, EU aid and UK aid, we have our people there working there. They give us jobs and etc. But are they now telling us, including World Bank by the way, that they were doing all of that just because they loved the coming up of and spreading of this virus in Uganda? Was that their basis for the support? So I have a belief, as the president said, for the first time, by the introduction of this bill, I think government is going to be frugal, because if the statements by the IGG some few months ago are to go by, if we are losing 9.8 trillion to corruption, these donors do not bring, PEPFAR does not bring more than that 9 trillion. PEPFAR is bringing around that money. If that money does not go to wastage, it can still cover that gap. But the most important question to ask is this the standing of majority of Uganda, a very good number of Ugandans in this country? My answer is yes. Our people in NRM had made a mistake, and the mistake was correctly diagnosed by the opposition, especially NOP, because some people in government, especially NRM extremists, had attached Bob Wine to NOP. NOP and Bob Wine to homosexuality and homosexuals. They actually even alleged that homosexuals are supporting him and his bid to oust the president. And I think the sober-minded leaders in NUP never wanted to take this line because they understood that this is overwhelmingly supported by every local Ugandan wherever he or she is.
But they've played catch up on this matter. They've been very lukewarm, John. We know the position each time that the spokesperson of the National Unity Platform or the president has been put to question on the position of the party or even himself on this matter. They've been giving vague answers. We know that for sure.
No, they voted.
Because when you're asked, for example, Bobby Wine, do you support the law? And he said that is not what is most important.
Yes,
and the people in Europe getting married to heterosexual partners.
You see,
is that the answer?
What I'm telling you, why I think Matthias Impuga played a very right card is because the speaker made a trap for them. That now we are going to vote by name calling. Every other person from NUP who attended and voted in favor of the bill. Now, whether as an institution, the statements they make, whether they are lukewarm, whether they are not satisfactory, it's a different matter. Because we even have faith-based institutions here, including the Catholic Church that is in Namgongo today, that was lukewarm as well. Actually, more lukewarm than even NUP you're talking about, because they asked the Bishop of Kampala, actually the Archbishop of Kampala, and he was lukewarm. So I have a feeling that NUP understood that this is not just a law to curtail some freedoms of the people. It is a law that is being supported by almost all Ugandans, all local Ugandans.
Okay.
That is why you see the people who have run to court are merely academic. If you can look at all of them, the Professor Tamaris you're talking about, the Andrew Mwendas and Fox Odoi.
No, they are right.
Yeah,
absolutely. But that's the truth.
Right,
majority,
most
Frank
of them,
Mutsha and
all
the
of them.
majority
So,
are academic.
And some of them are visiting fellows at different institutions in the UK, in the US, and other Western. And they fear because the first day the bill was assented to, some diplomatic passports of so many people in Uganda here.
The visas revoked.
Yes, including the speaker were revoked. So, for me, it is what can we do as Ugandans to cover that gap? What we don't want, including myself, is coming next year, reading the budget and telling us, because now this year our economy has grown at a rate of 5.3. Now, it will be very absurd for any government person, Minister of Finance or the President, to come and tell us now the economic growth has shrunk to 3% because some funders have withdrawn aid. Because this was foreseeable. They could foresee that the moment we do this, the consequences are this. Because even when it was passed in 2013, so many countries, Norway, Denmark, had pulled this, and they even warned before their assent and even before their approval by Parliament. So what we don't want is you are telling us you are managing. We are giving it to you. Let us wait after 1 year. Let us wait what you will come and tell us. Are you managing really, or you will again start saying the economy, like you were telling us stories of Russia and Ukraine? Don't tell us stories of World Bank has pulled this and that. EU has pulled this and
All
that.
right.
It's 9:30 a.m. Your local time check.
Oh no, yes, sports we know.
Wenje those did it, and you've heard from John Turinawe. But for me, people like you who come to speak human rights, the problem I have is even when you say Uganda is a signatory to all these treaties, but Uganda being a sovereign state can determine the direction upon which they want to take. Yesterday, I saw a young black man in the US. He said, from today forth, I'm called Harry, and I am white, and so imagine John Turinawe, Wesiga Banyaji saying, from today I am called Ronald, and I am white. Recognize me by being white. Is in this craziness of the highest order.
The spectrum of human rights does not end. There's a whole list of human rights.
Well, going to the petition, we know the some of the sections there are talking about non-participation of the public, and the opinion wasn't
non-renting to homosexuals.
But the thing is, we know that Ugandans were invited before the committee, and they would go ahead, and so many were able to be given opportunity to have their word put on record.
Public participation means that if you are going to enact the Coffee Act, you should call the producers of coffee. Okay? If you are going to enact the Anti-Homosexuality Act, you must call homosexuals and consult them. But that was never done. You see, President Museveni is hoodwinking the people of Uganda, as he has always done. Uganda, in Article 5, Clause 1 of the Constitution, is a sovereign state. Yes. It's an independent state, yes. But what is the definition of independence? The Longman Dictionary for Contemporary English defines independence as follows: the freedom and ability of a person to survive in life without having to ask for permission, help, or money. Now, Uganda, and Museveni knows this very well, is a very poor nation. It is a very sick nation. 5.8% of us are sick or with HIV and AIDS. 75% of us cannot even afford $1.77 a day, which is the poverty line for Uganda. We are a sick nation, we are a dying nation, we are poor. And according to the 17 goals of the Sustainable Development Goals, the first one is no poverty by 2030. The third one, the third target of the third goal is ending HIV epidemic by 2030. Now, this act here is a complete antithesis of the two.
Help the listener understand the link between HIV and homosexuality, because me I'm perturbed,
and I'm coming here.
Are homosexuals the only ones that contract HIV?
No. You see, in 1981, the first case of HIV and AIDS in the world was reported in the US, and the victim, actually that patient 0, was an HIV positive man. So there has always been a traditional link between HIV and homosexuality.
Isn't that in fact the good spirit upon which this law will bar contraction and the spread of HIV?
Yes, but it does not mean that HIV stroke AIDS only affects heterosexuals. It can even affect pansexuals and so forth. See, and what Museveni is saying by signing that bill is that an HIV positive man, if he goes to a hospital to access medical care, the doctor should send him away, because after all, it is his fault that he's sick.
No, but we know of HIV positive men in this country. How will a health practitioner send away a man who is HIV positive because of his gender?
No.
How is that possible?
If the landlord cannot rent you a house because you are gay, then the doctor, contrary to medical ethics, is going to send you away because you are gay.
No, the question is...
No doctor wants to be known for having treated.
Let's help the listener understand.
You can ask them.
When you go to a health facility,
yes,
and I am asked my gender, I am male, right? Am I first asked whether I'm heterosexual or homosexual?
Exactly.
For care to be provided?
Now, that is what is coming. That is what is... No. You see now, no. You see now,
Yes.
doctors, even if you pose questions to them now,
Yes.
the first question will be, if you come when you have HIV and AIDS, and you're a man, first question they're going to ask you, who is your sexual partner? Because they want to make sure that you do not contract HIV because of the homosexuality. So that law here, as I had said, yes, that's where we are going. That's where we are
you're
going.
very wrong.
No,
Because
No.
all of us have gone for tests. I have been asked before, and
That
the
is
question and the
before
question
the act.
is
That is
and the
before the
question
act.
is, when was the last time you engaged?
that's going to change.
In
That's going
sex.
to change. That's going to change with the enforcement of the act.
Yes.
With the enforcement of the act, every medical practitioner, every landlord is going to be aware what is the sexual orientation of my tenant, of my patient. We are living in very dangerous times. As I go to poverty, you see, we cannot afford to be independent. Actually, none of the 195 countries in the world, if you include Holy See and the state of Palestine, none of them is independent. None of them, because America, the number one, the superpower, has the largest debt of any state. China has its fingers and toes in Africa, so none of them is independent. And I don't believe in independence or dependence. I believe in interdependence. So, as a very poor country,
But as a matter of
Actually,
policy,
yes.
Brenja, before we kick the break,
yes,
as a matter of policy, can't the US and the West simply respect the decision of a sovereign state?
yes, there are
Because
they are respecting us.
because we do not influence the legislative
Let me tell you,
agenda of the
let
United
me tell you one
States.
thing. Yes, let me tell you. You see, President Museveni and his family and cohorts can afford ARVs, but you and I and him cannot afford. You see, the cost of ARVs is on average $1,500 per month. That is 5.5 M per month. None of us in Uganda, the ordinary people, can afford it, but Museveni and his people and the MPs can. So in a district like Karangara, where the prevalence rate is 18%, in 5 years' time, if that funding stopped now, in 5 years' time, we are going to have zombies in Karangara, because people cannot survive without ARVs. And Uganda, this is a country which could hardly produce its own COVID vaccine. And how can it even produce a single tablet of ARVs? It cannot.
We know,
So-
we know
so-
Cipla here.
See.
Cipla here is producing.
Comrade Wenje, briefly, just like
Let me
you
first-
like you
Am I
rightly-
protected?
Yeah, no, let him give us
Like
information.
you rightly said,
Yeah.
if the people you like most love Ugandans, the whites you like
The
most.
whites.
You have rightly said that even when COVID came, in less than a year they had found a vaccine. This HIV is very bad and ARVs are very expensive. Boss, why didn't your people look for a vaccine for HIV?
But you
Which people?
had the question.
What has made them fight since 1981?
Yeah.
42 years down the road.
Yes.
Why did they find a vaccine of COVID that they did not know at all? But now they cannot find a vaccine of HIV,
Yes.
but they are comfortable spending billions of dollars buying ARVs. Do you think they are buying ARVs to support people in Kalangala, or they are buying ARVs because their manufacturers somewhere have to sell them to Africans?
You see, that is a conspiracy theory. What we have to deal with is Uganda having the ability to live without foreign aid. You see, the public debt of Uganda is 80 trillion. The budget of Uganda is 48. Now, of the 80 trillion, 47 is the foreign debt. 47, that is 59%. And we are having a debt to GDP ratio of 50%. So, technically and truthfully, we are a begging nation. We cannot afford to have a situation where we do not have aid from the EU, from America, from Britain. So,
but when we come
as I
back,
end
we are
up-
going to be talking
as I end
about
up,
the hypocrisy of
exactly,
these white
that
people.
law is a sign of hypocrisy from the president.
Okay.
He's not being
After the
honest to
breather,
the people of Uganda.
after the breather.
Great friends.
We are back. It's literally a quarter to 10 o'clock on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music, great friends. My name is Wesige Banyaji, right here on Plot 12, Muti Lane. Catch us online on www.cruisefm.com/stream and on all our social media platforms. 912 Cruise FM on Twitter, 91.2 Cruise FM on Facebook and Instagram. And for those that can be able to catch us, the studio and all the people that are in here catching the conversation, go on Cruise TV on YouTube. You'll be able to see all that, courtesy of Creative Dictum Media that are casting us live. And I want to get to hear from you later on in the show on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. The question on our topic of discussion is already on Facebook and Instagram. I want to hear your feedback. Now, Oakunda, Bruce is saying good submissions. That's on Twitter. You can tag me at Banyaji and at 912 Cruise FM. And B. Oakunda, who is saying good submissions from John Tudenawe. Bwende is only playing to the gallery and making the populist statements. Then Mayuya Joseph.
Good. So the law will be annulled. After the annulment of the law, the international forum will be, this guy, president, is a good one. Because he protects human rights.
I have an
And the aid will continue coming in.
I have an objection.
I'll give you. What do you want to say?
Yes, you see, when we come here, we should present to our listeners and viewers cogent evidence. When you say that these petitioners are being funded by the president, where is that evidence?
Now, let me ask you simple.
That's a serious allegation.
Let me see.
Because actually, you are saying that President Seven is a fraudster. She says this and then does that.
Yes.
Where's the evidence?
If the president, I'm telling you, if the president is against the bill, like he says, how does he allow his strong allies? Andrew Mwele, the strong ally of President Museveni.
No. You see, being a friend of the first son doesn't mean that
it's like
he's
asking me that show me evidence that we're a thief.
And
Can
then-
a thief provide evidence that he's a thief?
Oh, you see, you cannot prove a negative. See, so
Secondly, I know you are a lawyer. We have what we call the negative evidence. You know negative evidence?
negative evidence.
Yes.
That's not there.
It is
Right.
It is total.
Evidence.
No, you see what he's talking about.
Hey, is what?
Maybe it is taught at
Maybe you are
PhD
talking-
level.
No.
So you have not started it yet.
Maybe if you mean evidence which you present, but it is against you.
No, there is the principle or the law of negative evidence. You don't know negative evidence?
No, it's
But-
not
And you are a
there.
lawyer?
No, it's not there.
The man is saying it's there.
Let me explain.
Yeah.
Let me explain.
Yes, yes.
Negative evidence
Yes.
is whereby the absentia of something confirms the presence of something. Let me give you a brief.
Bwenje allowed to be taught.
No, that's a contradiction. I'm saying, you see, the fact that something is not there, it doesn't mean that A or B is there. That principle is a fallacy.
No, it's not a fallacy.
It's a fallacy.
You said you were a lawyer.
I've studied it, yes, but it is a fallacy.
I'm telling you, the law of negative evidence, the absence of something signifies the presence of something.
No, it doesn't. That principle, see, that
Let me give
principle.
you a brief
Okay. Back the knowledge
What
on
is
your
there?
principle.
What is there?
Does
is
not
there.
automatically.
Principle is there.
Yes.
The principle of negative evidence is there, but negative evidence per se is not there.
And that's what I'm telling you. I'm using principle of
Negative-
negative
no,
evidence.
Okay.
Negative evidence
Let's
per se is
not go
there.
academic.
You see,
Let Aaron substantiate
Yeah.
Yes.
your statements.
So now I was telling you, in the same way, in the same vein, President Museveni comes in with his strong allies, funds the petition, subtly, not openly, and the law is annulled in court. And in the international arena, in the international business, the international forum will recognize President Museveni as a democrat who respects human rights, respects the rule of law, because
Now, Aaron,
No.
the presumption is
We are just-
you're presuming that the members of the bench will literally not look at the facts and the law
Exactly.
in determination of this matter. It's
actually,
as if they'll be blind
They are already
to the
compromising.
facts. Is that what you're saying?
No, I think what he's trying to say,
Yes.
and
Without evidence.
if I have got him very clearly,
Yes.
is that if some people like Wenje, some people like Chiza Besige, some people like Bobo Wine have been presenting themselves as Democrats and fighters for rule of law, the Lukwagwas, they ran to court on petty issues. Why didn't they run to court now? Why has it required a member of the NRM?
Because they are
A member of
proponents of the bill.
no problem, I am coming.
Yes.
A member of, because for him he's saying Fox Odoi, when he went to court there, he was not an MP. He was working in State House.
As a lawyer.
He was a lawyer.
Yes.
He was a director, legal director in State House. A legal director in State House goes to court
As
to
a lawyer.
annul what something
Yes.
the president has. That's what I'm coming. You
Yes.
said you want evidence.
Yes.
A director,
Yes.
director, legal department of the State House runs to court to disagree on something his boss, his appointing authority,
His
assented
boss.
to. He is gifted by running west of Dama, northeast something in a constituency, supported by the president, comes to parliament. After coming to parliament, he is actually
Presents a minority report.
no, even after
petitions
even before the minority report, when he comes to parliament, out of 395 MPs who align themselves as members of the NRM, he's picked by the same president to chair a committee. Then he comes and disagrees with this bill, runs to court. For him, he's saying, if there is no foul play, if there is no coordination, what should we call it? I think that's what he was raising.
I think Aaron is right on that matter, unless otherwise proved.
See, you see.
Let's
you see.
hit the short breather. When we come back, we shall be able to start from there, and I will be able to get the feedback. When we come back, I'll be able to open the lines so that you join the conversation on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. The Big Seat on Western Uganda's biggest radio. My name is Wes Gebanyaji. Don't touch your dial. We're back. It's just a minute past 10 o'clock on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music. We're friends. Good morning. And if at all you're joining us for the very first time, the big sit happens every particular Saturday, 9 a.m. to 11. We sit and talk about matters that concern our country, the politics, the economics, name it, in whichever way it is. And we want to thank those that are listening in. You're doing us very good. Now, we're talking about the Anti-Homosexuality Act that has been enacted by the president, the consequences of that law. The West is threatening. And we want to understand, will Uganda deal with the consequences of this law? Ivan Polvov on Facebook is saying, thank you for the show. You're listening in from Uganda. If Uganda, we are not ready to face this crisis, if we are put under the sanctions by the colonial masters, yes, we have our own constitution, but believe me, things are going to backfire. Happy Mother's Day. Mwalimu Sepima is saying people like Bwenje are talking to get visas. And Aaron Mwesije, I don't know it's this one or it's another one, but he's saying, Aaron Mwesije is saying, I think this is the right time that we need to show that we stand on our own. Thank you. Listening again from Uganda University. Odushaba Maciel, you're saying the government will feel the pressure when aid is cut off and we need to scrap it off in 2013. And Sami Kambare, you're listening again from Kasese. And you're saying that Mutoro man on your program does not represent Kasese. This man has categorically emphasized he does not speak Rutoro, he speaks Rusongora. So,
from Kasese.
Yes.
The people in Uganda who were found here, out of over 70 tribes that came from wherever, there are 3. Kasangwa was here, the Iki in Karamoja, there was Songora in Greater Rwenzori, and the people you sometimes call pygmies in Windy Penetrable. There is no any other tribe that was in Uganda before us.
On 752912912 and 780912910. So with me in studio is John Todenawe, who is a big sitter, Aaron Mwesije, political analyst, and consequence Deus did it, who is a lawyer. The big set.
Hello.
Good morning. Ndireje shani wesevo.
Nje.
Wate ranka hii ne bakweto.
Wanyeta Benjamin na Terisindiro. Bwana gamba muramwogwe. Ngenda kubuza Mr. Bwenjogwe. Baranagirangwa abantu bakaka ko batine nankeze ARVs. Mwesina na iterezangu baguma batereze ARVs then bapromoting kugira ngo abantu bagume bashambane bafune ARVs. Mbwen nyenda kummanyisangu Uganda ne basako kandi sima na President Museveni kugira ngo ayoreserengu tuka independence akayashira bukusayini ngiteke kandi kugira ngo umuntu kuba ashome wazahare oyebwe culture yawe
yebari mno
abo kuba bagira ngo homosexuality gumeho how will we multiply zakweyongera ta kugira ngo imbaho tura Africa itambambe ndabamaro Africa aho kuba abantu bona bamara kutizamo umushiza akagwa n'umushiza we kandi umukaza akaba n'umukazi we hariho shonga kugira ngo ruhanga yakwase Adamu akamuyamu Eve ninjira oba umudotina yo kusomedi mtinkumanya so mbweni ndima mwewe program mwewe no maramwa kandi sasa n'abantu bitu aba serious Somalia kandi aramusoro
kare bari mnonga on 75291291217809129110 the big set
mwewe Tereza
kare bambe
bito no banyata chiza kahigiriza ni bana na tugoro buchoro kashaya atomanya na Uganda bakaba zurumbi burungu ensaraiza eduremberi yayo ateje ni imbere yesu kandi nabwe manya bukindu njiza n'ikizugu cyacho kandi kiza n'ikirungi cyacho ate manya oda ebebisi yagayo ko ribibi ati abamwe bahemba bugoza awo ati nyere kamba yereza ikigambo tumwe nyowe nivuga boda boda mu rugamba ngeze cyangwa ati yani zero wito mu cyaro kutayaya hata wa nyombe ni vuga abasagazi bana ganta manyamu n'umugwawo ngo abasagazi inabe ndorango mutwaro wakabambe mutwaresha ati nyebuza ndabashija ababumba esente mbaziye iza naguma ni ntondo zambora nimba gwera munashanga abashija mbage kukiyaga kandi biza bakwaga kabatwara no nide zo musagazi bamukiyaga umushaza bamuhereza sente kuza kuyagira wa chamani yaja yo mukikari cyabo abajatana wahibero ushata baza kubakoma bafurgaho baza handi kandi yanda yibagiri ikikunsho zarenze umbagipangisha miliyoni 2 bararama abantu 20 mwena kana mukikari cyari yo abanyagitokazayo kana nage tokari inguriza atono jangu Uganda kiyaga kikawamo ikiyaga kikawamo abantu ibintu byabo mbabikorera umugezi ikindi mbabikorera amasumu gabo customer we namwe inasoma niyo bakamampereza n'isumu zabo ganda kumaneba neba bimbantu mumu banyangu iroko gendo teretera hari umuntu nayijana n'umugenzi konga kunizire ko namanyire nakanta kubesha batakante ko mbintu bitarumu ati Uganda giye kureba ibintu byo byo gusigarana bitambura yadi muteve na sayiningere cyo cyarajyo kaza igere Uganda nta kigoro cyo rukasha
yebare mnonga. I think you've been very spot on. Thank you so much. The feedback is amazing. On the big set. Karibambe.
Kanatera markazo. Ningira Tuzene kaseni ngikira direito homosexuality. Abo kuba bigana nayo kegera kaire yimere tagire kugira ngo bene yambo mahanga gahe ati Uganda yagira bari ya batijang tujaguze independent thing man independent ne ono sango ngo nubakinga ngo bataye tungu yamba heru engwe mbazi ya arabizi tuzikora kuza mu Uganda ngo buri kimwe tukoza gukora ngo diye tugere ku papa bwe nayo ninjangu bacengereho batubireho buyamba buyaho Uganda kaje kuyayirunda imbaze yakuyamba abantu bakagera kwerinda nisoze kuzahereje nisende sorezo bakoresha ngaba prime minister ba minister bakora he nibinje sente soze sente zokutahereza bakubemba bakubemba ko Rumi Uganda bakora he ninja cyade cyam 7 pictures nacho tukore mu buzima
Kare bari kutera. On the big set.
Banyaj.
Yes, please. Good morning.
Morning to you.
Good morning. What's your name? And
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to you.
This is Isaac Kemanzia Chamgasa calling from Chamgasa Kazunzu.
Yes, Isaac. Yes, Isaac in Bushen.
About the topic. When Banyaji muchumanye mweno kumya mu studio. Hine umunazi arkuchizayo ahansi yitaka nkomuzungu. Noreba agereza arbanisa mnongo mwiraguzu yamarema akanza ya leta film ekatani cyatwaje katani Amerika omuzungu ya mwiraguzu ya esagama yawo jya inamani mingi ya kizamani iza covid nayo bagereza nayo twakizamani niye ntakire leta bisiyaga mwenyo president mwibarire ahubwo signing cyaragirecho kina ibara tuniye kureka nakacha kutwine omyango twakakoresa agent basa kwibisha ayiza kemanzi yacha mugashanye
bari mnonga
yo bona yana bagizo ba manste na baramsiya
Karibambe. On the big set. We just lost that call. Let me get back to studio. Aaron, let me allow Aaron conclude on that narrative there. And majorly, I want us to interest ourselves in the aspect of the aftermath. The Constitutional Court has rendered its ruling. Perhaps now the status quo will remain. The Anti-Homosexuality Act is in full force as a law. Away from the nullification that you kind of predict, are we able to deal with the consequences of the donor withdrawals? Because we know a big chunk of our budget is literally financed by these guys. We cannot run it away
We
from
had a politician here, pre-election, post-election, was on the plane 24/7 on a no Uganda aid crusade. Bob Wine, before the enactment of this law, was everywhere addressing the EU Parliament, going to Brussels. He was in Washington telling those people, don't give aid to dictator Museveni because he's going to misuse it. So now, if the enactment of the law is going to cut the aid, this is what we have been praying for anyway. Let us wait for the consequences.
Aaron.
Now, once again, before I come to your question, I was saying if President Museveni is really in interest of this law, because we have seen instances whereby President Museveni breaks the law for as long as the matter is in his interest. For example, he deployed the military in Congo in 1997 up to 2001. It was in his interest that up to now Ugandans are paying a tune of $325 billion. He broke the law. He broke the law in deploying army in Sudan. He broke the law on appointment of this Joyce who? She's Kaboyo Aris.
Alice Kaboyo.
Yeah. He broke the law on appointment of Alice Kaboyo. So I'm saying, if Anti-Corruption Act.
Yes, she had served for 10 years.
No, they were not at elapsed.
No, they had they had
2014, appointed 2001.
No, she was convicted.
10 years
No. Her case she was tried in 2007 during that saga together with Mukula and Jim Huwezi.
Convicted.
But
she refunded the money.
She pleaded guilty.
In 2014.
Refunded. No. In 2010,
and she was convicted.
And the conviction was 10 years outside the public office. From 2010 to 2011, she had been outside the public office for 11 years. So it was not 2014. It was
Aaron, we shall not dwell on that. Give us the facts.
So, now, but the fact of Congo remains.
But please help us juxtapose it with the Anti-Homosexuality Act.
Now, I'm saying
doesn't mean what
disregarding disregarding the possibilities. We are saying in the case the law, in the case the Constitutional Court upholds the
act.
First and foremost, Uganda, we would be able to sustain our budget. For example, in 2014, when the same bill was assented to, Norway and some other Western countries deducted the aid. We were able to run our budget 60%. So, but do we have the capacity to really influence our budget and outcome the domestic economic challenges? We would have that chance if the government and the president were really willing. But how are we really prepared if before the parliamentary recess, the parliament approved 1 trillion Ugandan shillings alone from IMF. So we are saying we are ready to overcome and sustain ourselves, but at the same time we are lending 1 trillion Ugandan shillings. How are we ready? Yet Ugandans receive 286 billion Ugandan shillings for education ministry. And the first lady, Janet Katam 7, is requesting 1.6 trillion for refugees only. Yet refugees don't constitute even a quarter of the Ugandans in the education sector.
In a nutshell, you're saying it is going to hit us hard.
It will hit us hard because our leaders are not prepared to overcome the economic challenges.
Exactly. And
in the same vein, we know it's the defense ministry that receives a classified budget. A classified budget means they don't account to the public.
They do.
First way, they
account to the public through parliament. But even when they are we understand that aspect. But the nitty-gritty is that they will not expose to these members of parliament in the classified expenditures.
Yes. The speaker knows everything.
The speaker only, but it's not the public document.
How then does that become classified?
It's a classified document.
No, that cannot be classified. Classified would mean it is only in secrecy of a particular class of people.
Yes.
Not even the executive.
You see, once the speaker knows,
speak to the microphone.
But the speaker cannot know.
But the speaker
She knows.
No.
The speaker knows.
Okay.
If you
What
heard
happens?
from-
What happens
Yes.
if members of parliament
Yes.
elected Bobi Wine as a speaker, and President Museveni sent a classified budget, and Bobi Wine is the leading contender, the leading opposition figure? How then would you present your classified defense expenditure to a person you are contesting with, and he's a speaker of parliament?
No.
So he cannot.
It would be
know.
obnoxious.
No.
be.
It
A
cannot
speaker,
be.
No, a speaker of parliament.
I don't know how
is-
to argue very for very
a
long.
speaker of
minutes.
parliament-
But I think the position is stated.
A speaker of parliament, actually, it has no orientation, whether you are NRM or opposition. As long as I'm the speaker of parliament, I'm entitled to receive that
You're
information.
talking the ideal.
Yes, and the law is the ideal.
But we know
Uh-huh.
if for example the Uganda is spying on Rwanda and the expenditures
Yes.
to that effect, the president and the command and the chief of defense forces and those that run the apparatus of our security agencies will not go before parliament
No.
to explain these
Sir,
allocations.
sir,
Absolutely,
as the
not even to the speaker
As
of
the
parliament.
speaker, I'm the third in hierarchy. I'm entitled to know.
Bwenje, we've gotten the point. Conclude, please, Aaron.
So, once again, in conclusion, I'm saying, further to the point, we correct 21 trillion Ugandan shillings, but 9 trillion goes to corruption. We receive a foreign aid of up a tune of 4 trillion Ugandan shillings, but we lose 9 trillion Ugandan shillings in what? In corruption. So we would be able to sustain our domestic economic difficulties if we would reduce corruption.
And the
But they are
indiscipline
not-
of government.
Yes, but we don't have the potential because our leaders are benefits of corruption.
So what is going to happen as we go
so
this is the last point that I want to hear from you as we get out of here. Bwenje, yes.
Is that the people who are signing this bill can afford to take care of their health, but you and I cannot. Okay, so we should not forget that 157 people get infected with HIV every day. 47 die every day. Every year it is 17,000. Many students don't go to, actually, many children don't go to school. Now, we cannot afford to have children out of school. We cannot afford to have zombies in our country because of no ARVs. Now, these two things are what constitutes human capital development, which takes actually a large chunk of our country's budget. Therefore, we should not go by what the president is saying. These
Okay,
people
Bwenje,
can
what are you
afford.
telling Ugandans?
So what I'm telling
if,
them,
if the act is enforced,
yes, we cannot deal with the consequences. We are poor. We are unable. Okay? We are beggars. We are going to die. We are going to have diarrhea. We are going to have our bowels out. We cannot afford this. HIV is going to feed us.
but already the homosexuals are pulling our bowels out. So what is the plan?
No. Two wrongs don't make a right.
Okay, thank you. All those on Cruise TV, I know Nwagaba Joseph, you're watching from, well, it's not clear, but Ahebwa Anita Amona, you're watching from High Street. Owamani Jacob, you're watching from Katete. Andrew Kamsha. Atuishuchile Osbat, you're watching from Kampala, and want to thank you very much. And to come here, but Daddy, as you're saying, Bwenje is confused. I bet not. Bwenje is a very intelligent young man, I can assure you. At Kwase Remy, you're saying I support the rainbow. It's love. Kubakurunji, Sam, you're watching from Qatar and want to say thank you. Mugabe Mahad Kamkama, you're watching from Kabale University. And then MC Kanazi, you're watching us from wherever. You've not put location, but I want to thank you so much. And you're saying, I think the Big Seed debutant's submission is great. Someone here is appreciating you here. And then Derek Aluho, you're watching in from Kasanda. We want to say thank you. We are wrapping up on this matter. Let me hear your closing remark on the Anti-Homosexuality Act. But we should give more emphasis on how, as a country, we are going to deal with the aftermath. Because the truth is, if the Constitutional Court upholds, then we have to deal with the consequence of the withdrawals. Aaron,
So,
in a second.
So, if the Constitutional Court upholds, there is what we call the ideal and the reality. The ideal is Ugandans would be able to finance our budget and overcome our domestic economic challenges. Because already the foreign aid is less than the money we lose in corruption. Therefore, once we would fight corruption, we would be able to overcome our domestic challenges.
Okay.
But the reality is, we are not able to fight corruption. Why? Our leaders are benefits of corruption. Even the president himself is a beneficiary of corruption.
And he's corrupt as well.
And he's corrupt because if the agencies and the agencies, the IGG and he's creating para and corruption agencies are doing nothing to resolve and refund the money we lost, 9 trillion out of 21 trillion we collected in domestic revenue. Nothing has been consolidated.
Okay.
So that means that there is no political will to fight corruption so that we are able to meet our domestic economic challenges.
Thank you. Bwenje, as we get out of...
to state that...
in a second, really.
The act, as I stated, is an epitome of stigma and discrimination against homosexuals and people living with HIV and AIDS. And of course, all the people of Uganda, especially their public health. As a country, as a poor country, we do not have the financial, technical, and economic ability to bear the consequences of the donors not giving us aid. We are beggars and we will continue to beg. And especially the corruption in Uganda, if we do not address that, then we should not even think about being independent.
Okay.
Because if you are corrupt, you make people lose money.
Okay.
And we cannot afford that.
Thank you, Bwenje. Comrade John.
The reason some people hide under the cover and guise of HIV is because they know that Uganda, we have 10 million homes and we have around 1.something million people infected with HIV, around 1.7. And that means that in every 10 homes, there is 1.5 homes with people living with HIV. So it becomes an emotive agenda that if you spread it in the community, people but you had your time
please.
That you splash it in the face of our lazy Ugandans, they will buy the idea. Unfortunately, fortunately, they have not bought into the idea. Now, on the consequences,
John.
On the consequences, President Museveni most times plays his cards very smartly. There are so many things the U.S. Through covert means get from Africa and Uganda in particular, and I am very sure they will do whatever they will do. Most of the aid will remain here because what that aid is intended to fetch from here is actually more than the aid itself. Because if I can ask you, I come from Kasese, some people come from Kasese. If I can ask, who knows how and where the cobalt and copper that comes from Kulembe goes? Do you have any copper refinery here? Okay. Who knows, for instance, how our gold, our gold goes? So when the president says something, he may not come and say, okay, I will deal with them, but I am very sure he has a way to deal with them.
What we know, the American interests supersede homosexuals in Uganda.
It's tough, it's bold, it's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Cruise FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great.
are definitely back, literally in our second topic of discussion, 27 minutes past 10 o'clock on Western Uganda's biggest radio station, 91.2 Cruise FM, great music. Great friends. My name is Wesi Gebanyaji, and I want to say good morning and happy Mother's Day to all Ugandans and people in East Africa. We are talking about Somalia and what happened about a week ago in the early morning on the Ugandan base in Bulo Mare in Lower Shebede, and we lost a couple of Ugandan troops there, but the UPDF has yet to come out to give us the figures. The Al-Shabaab are chest thumping, saying that in their numbers they have about 137 Ugandan troops that were put out, and a couple of them being taken away as prisoners of war. We've been having deployed in Somalia for about 16 years now, since 2007, about there. A couple of fatalities there, but we know our contribution is definitely known to the entire world to see. John Turinawe, President Museveni, while addressing the NRM Parliamentary Caucus, he said it is because of the corruption in the recruitment of some of these troops that the senior officers are taking ADCs and personal assistants and cooks and whatever that are not combat ready to deal with what is present in Somalia. But also, we shall have to talk about the motivation of the UPDF and their state of mind. We know what is happening with gun violence here, and majority of which is being carried out by the UPDF. Perhaps this is a sample of the troops that are in Somalia, demotivated, very corrupt. They literally have lost the direction. John Tirinawe, first of all, what does this speak of our deployment in Somalia? Isn't it high time we now brought back our people to deal with what we have here? Because there are more challenges here than in Somalia. 16 years down the road, the Somalis must have organized themselves to have their own people catering for their own security. Why should we continue losing Ugandans in Somalia, John Turinawe?
I think I am not going to concentrate on the operational. I am most likely going to talk about the strategic mission in Somalia other than the operational, because but since it is a requirement, I think even the president was forced to talk about the issues of cooks. First of all, you need the cooks there. Nobody cooks for you when you are in Somalia. That should be understandable. Secondly, when do you get time to eat? When do you get time to eat? You don't have enough dry ration that you can only depend on it. Thirdly, it is not a foot mission, a movement mission, that all the time you are on the walk, on the run, you are moving here and there, and therefore you don't need cooks. So cooks will be there. Every contingent will have a number of people under the logistics department, and most of them will be doing. Some of them will do the cooking, because nobody cooks for them. That's number one. So, are they combat ready? The answer is yes. They spend close to a year at PSO, Peace Support Operations Training School in Singo, and I trust we trust the people who are there, who are manning that institution, including the foreign military teams, especially from France, from the Emiratis, from UAE, the Americans, and the Israelis. They are the ones training our people in peace operations in Mogadishu. So, for me, I think the board of inquiry that was led by Lieutenant General Kayanja Mahanga, who is the team that he has gone with, including Colonel Albert Kashakamba, the Director of Intelligence at Land Forces, and others, will come and give a picture. But at strategic level, what are we doing in Somalia? How are we doing it? And is it sustainable? So for me, I would want to look at that other than a single attack, and we start looking at how the attack happened, and then who didn't do what, because this is a combat area, and death must happen. In a combat area, you expect death. Now, you can't say for us we are going to go there and we are not going to die.
You see, for any ordinary Ugandan to think that the UPDF base can be overrun by these bandits would it comes off very shabby and untidy.
You see,
because where I sit, I would look at it as very. I saw a UPDF troop running in combat,
and that's what I'm telling you, that the errors are at strategic level, not operational. Because in Mogadishu, all operations are intelligence led.
Yes.
But now, you don't know whether you have ever been to Mogadishu and outside Mogadishu actually to other areas, Koriole, kilometer 50.
John have not been out of Uganda.
Maraka. I can tell you that if you look at the base, you understand that the intelligence they use is US supported, and that's an ISR system. These ravens that they send to whichever places, I can tell you that the US can detect any imminent attack on AMISOM or now Artemis base. They can detect that prior. And I can also tell you that the ISR had detected this one. And I can also tell
and
you...
they left it...
But that's what I'm telling you, that actually, a month before, the troops there had seized an aeroplane full of cash, full of dollars. And how much was the dollars? In hundreds of millions.
But in a war that's not theirs, those whose war it is are running away, losing scores. But our boys are dying in hundreds and the country ain't bothered. I am compelled to think our boys are being sold out for chicken soup. An enemy is approaching and you can't fire because the rules of engagement haven't handed down, but are not being handed down by the commander. It's upside that how boys are dying. Thank you, Anatoly, for that message. Please keep the feedback coming on our social media platforms, 912 Cruise FM on Twitter and 91.2 Cruise FM on Facebook. Cruise TV is where you can be able to catch the visuals and enjoying the show. With me in studio is Counsel Bwenje Deusdedit. He's a lawyer. Aaron Mwesije, political analyst, and a big seater, John Turnawe. Yes, Bwenje.
10% of the soldiers who fought in the Vietnam War understood the purpose and the mission of the war. The rest were just used. Now, in Somalia, you see the under Article 98(1) of the Constitution, the president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, which makes him the chief spokesperson of the UPDF. So if he says that corruption is to blame for the death of our boys and girls there, then he's right. You see, and what he means by corruption is, in our language, gamba noha. As he was saying, people sell property in order to go to Somalia. People have sex in order to go to Somalia. Actually,
at least now they know.
You see, going there, you see.
At least now they know.
Yes.
You see, and I want to inform all the UPDF soldiers there, because I know around 1 in 20 families in Uganda at least has a relative in Somalia. And the amount of remittances from the UPDF soldiers in Somalia to the economy of Uganda is too big. Okay? We need that money, but at what expense? Now, have you ever wondered why all the commanders of the SFC are from this region, the Western region?
How is that connected to the Somali?
No, I'm coming.
Yes.
I'm coming. And so
the Chandias, the
see.
But Chandia was there for a very short time. Let's be honest. For less than 3 months.
Is he a commander there? Is he a commander? I'm talking about
the
SFC. SFC. You see, is the UPDF a professional army? No. Does Somalia need UPDF soldiers? No. You see, a professional army, okay?
Yes.
You must be aware and you must practice human rights. You must be educated in human rights.
Have they homosexualized any person?
No, you see.
I know you are very...
No. You are in big love with homosexuality. Let us not vulgarize the debate here.
No, but when
We
you
are here
see-
for a purpose.
But
On
you see,
November 18th,
Kansobwenje,
you see, yes, on
Kansobwenje,
November
we are
18th.
talking about
Yes, and I'm
combatants
yes,
that belong
yes.
to families in Uganda being put out by the Al-Shabaab.
Let me tell you something.
How is that
Let me
connected to
tell you
human
something.
rights
I'm
and
coming.
the world of
I'm
homosexuality?
I'm coming. On November 18th and 19th, UPDF soldiers were on rampage on the streets of Kampala. They murdered thousands of Ugandans. That they can do. But fighting the Al-Shabaab, they cannot do. Okay? So what they want is innocent and armed people to shoot at. But when you bring the Al-Shabaab, they will just skedaddle away. They will just run.
But are you
See,
Ugandan?
You're parting short.
they-
That time
no,
is
no,
well
no.
spent.
Do you know that
You
by
see,
2003, 29th March, when the first battle group landed there under the command of by then
I want to-
Of Levi-
yes,
Levi Kanhan.
it was for contingent. The battle
Can I
group
speak?
was
Can I
under
speak? It's
Elwelo.
my time.
Do you know that they only had a
This is my
helipad
time.
to London?
This is my
So
time.
that the entire Mogadishu, including
Can I
State
speak?
House, was under the command of Al-Shabaab, and they have pushed them now
Can I speak,
250 kilometers away to Barawe, and you are
Can I
saying they are
speak,
doing
sir?
nothing there. Really,
See,
that's
so
fun.
so
You're
it
parting
is
short.
time.
Yeah.
It is time that we assess the presence of the UPDF in Somalia. Either they are idle and they only go there to earn money. And what I want to tell them is that Somalia, actually, what they are in is not a party. It is a death trap.
Yeah, that's what's okay.
Their commanders are earning, and for them, they are dying. You see,
You're cutting
earning-
short, Bwenje. Our time is fast spent.
you
In a second,
with
sir.
the emergence of Kinerugaba and the SFC has become stronger than the UPDF, and so had it been the SFC in Somalia, maybe our boys and girls would not be dying. So it is also time to assess the legality and the function of the SFC within the broader UPDF,
Okay.
because
Aaron
the SFC
Message.
is consuming the UPDF.
Okay. Aaron Message, you're parting short.
Thank you. But it's high time Mwenje had some information, because the SFC is not the land forces. The SFC is majorly mandated to protect special
Installations of
special
government.
installations, the state house and everything. Then
Let him.
the other thing, according to Artemis, they are supposed to be withdrawing the last phase 4, withdrawal and liquidation of Artemis in December 20. Next forward operating basis, they entirely excluded the issues of Al-Shabaab. Yet the issues in Somalia are political. Then, so it means that in the end, after the withdrawal of
But
Artemis,
let me ask a very honest question. Sustainably, do you think that Somalis are even ready? First of all, you already have clan conflicts. The Al-Shabaab is not being wiped out and dealt with.
Now,
don't you think you're using Panado to treat cancer?
No, it's not the case. Previously, Al-Shabaab was the Islamic Scotch Union. It had taken over leadership in Somalia. But because the West and its allies distanced themselves from communism and the Islamic State ideology, so with and some other African countries that disagree with Islamic State ideology, they penetrated in Somalia. So now the issue is in Somalia they are political. It's an issue of ideological disorientation. The clans that want Islamic State vis-a-vis the others. But in the transition process, they have excluded them. They are not part of the transition process. So do you expect it to go to an end? Yet they are excluded. Secondly, they have been termed as terrorists.
And that's who they are.
They are rebels.
No, who is a terrorist?
They are rebels.
Those are freedom fighters.
A freedom fighter is a rebel. So when you name a rebel as a terrorist, then you are distancing them from the civilians. You're creating more havoc, meaning that a terrorist cannot be incapacitated in the political structure. Yet the issue is entirely civil and political. So because they believe in Islam, you are calling them terrorists. You are calling them terrorists because they are linked with Al Qaeda, who stormed the US in 9/11.
Aaron Message. You're legitimizing Al-Shabaab.
They are political
agenda.
They have a political agenda of.
Are you saying Al-Shabaab is equivalent to the NRA?
Have you read it?
Exactly.
Have you read
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, I think that's your parting shot. Let me have John. John, please, you're going to wind up on time and get out of here.
No problem. I think most times, speaking out of ignorance is very bad. And
but what is ignorant about saying that the Al-Shabaab are running a political agenda?
That's what I'm saying.
That is the truth.
That,
theirs is politics.
Uganda is using Somalia as a cash
I am telling you
Okay.
that if someone is dealing with a rebel group here in Uganda and is a politician with a manifesto, you don't go and start Boko Haram in Nigeria. You don't go to southern Cameroon and start terrorizing it. You don't go to Chad and Islamize the eastern part.
You don't go to Asia.
Really, when I hear my comrades speak here, sometimes I feel I should not be part of this discussion because the levels of ignorance here are at World Cup. Now, the agenda of Al-Shabaab is not about Somalia alone. The agenda of Al-Shabaab is known, is written, is documented. Only that my fellow permanents here are too lazy to find this literature.
Have you read
So,
the manifesto?
but I am telling you the manifesto.
Our time is
That's
fast
what I'm
spent.
telling you. I want to Islamize this better part actually up to Alaska and South Islands, and you are telling me it is a manifesto to deal with. So I think when they go to in 1998 when they bombed Tanzania. What had Tanzania? Even by the way,
they want to take
the UN.
Tanzania?
Let me tell you, the UN Security Mission and the African Union that started in Addis Ababa in 2002. 4 countries were supposed to be the pioneer troop contributing countries. Number 1, Uganda. Number 2, Nigeria. Number 3, Tanzania. Number 4, Djibouti. All of them chickened out at first until Uganda went there alone, without a single dollar, without anything. Now, in Nigeria up to now, they have just sent some policemen together with Eritrea and others. Tanzania has never at all, not even a single time. The second troop contributing country after Uganda was Burundi, not Djibouti. Djibouti came later. So when someone comes here and tells you, and you are telling someone whose son or daughter died among the 84 people that died in when they were watching football in 2010, that for them, they are sorting their own issues there. They are not terrorists, but they were suicide bombers in this country from Mogadishu. Others that were even caught and convicted and sentenced. And someone leaves his bedroom, takes break tea, passes wherever he passes, and comes here to say it is a political thing. I cry for my dear Uganda.
No,
Thank you so much for being a part of the show. My name is Aaron. Our time is fast spent. In a second,
I would like to correct Mr. John.
Yes.
That rebels may use terrorist groups, may use terrorist tactics. Because if he says that Al-Shabaab don't have a political agenda,
but if it is political, why is Al-Shabaab spreading to Chad? Why is Al-Shabaab going to forming Boko Haram in Nigeria? Why?
Because Ugandans are fighting.
Thank you, Aaron Mwesije. Thank you, John Turinawe. Thank you, Council Bwenje Didi. Thank you, every person that has been a part of the show. Hashtag who has been listening into the show. Let's meet next Saturday on the Big Seat. Good morning.
Views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of this radio station or its management.
This radio is regulated by Uganda Communications Commission, UCC.